Hi there, my name is John McGuigan, Glasgow Dog Trainer and Behaviour Consultant. You can find my website at www.glasgowdogtrainer.co.uk. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the training equipment that I use. I've been doing this now for a number of years, and I found that this is to be the training equipment I use is the only equipment that I really use regularly. I can't remember the last time I used anything other than this, and I use most of these training tools or training equipment every week. Always use a bag of, I always have food reinforcement available. I use hot dogs or cheese, smoked sausage, normal kibble. I can use that sometimes, but we'll talk a little bit about food reinforcement another time. So all the dogs I work with, I'll either ask them to be on a flat collar or just a normal flat harness. When I say a flat harness, I mean something like this. And this is from Kitty, my old dog, and just a normal solid harness. This has got no moving parts. It's not a no pull harness. Nothing restricts the dog here. Basically just something for me to attach the lead onto. And the lead attaches between the dog's shoulder blades with this. She's a big dog, that's why the harness is so big. Either use this or just a normal buckle collar. I prefer a buckle collar rather than the ones with the clip like this. Just because a buckle collar is a little bit more secure than these clips here. Next piece of equipment I use is a 6-foot training lead. Just a flat standard 6-foot training lead. I use these because you can keep the dog on a slack lead far easier on a 6-foot lead than you can on a 4-foot lead. If you're tall and your dog's small and the dog's on a 4-foot lead, as soon as the dog moves a foot or so in front of your leg, the dog's now on a tight lead. Whereas with this, we've got far more flexibility. We can keep slack on the dog's collar. Slack on this lead a lot easier than we can on a shorter lead, which allows for more natural movement from the dog. The next thing I use is I use a long line, and I use this with a lot. Near enough every session I use this. Dogs that are aggressive or reactive towards other dogs, I'll put them on a long line. This allows the dog to move freely away from me, but it allows me to have control over the dog. I use it for recall as well. For using it for recall, I'm not using it to pull the dog in, I'm using it to stop the dog getting away from me, which I can talk about that later as well. This is a 30-foot one, and this one's really light. It's marine line that I use. I go to the yacht chandlers and buy this and just make them up myself. It doesn't get waterlogged as easily as some of the commercial ones do. I've had this one for about 9 months, daily use, and it's still, the waterproofing on it is still pretty decent, or water resistance. It does absorb a little bit of water, but not too much. So that's a 30-foot one, which is for the bigger dogs, and this is a smaller one. I use this as a 20-foot one, which is much lighter. I use this for puppies and small dogs, but it's the same thing. Next thing I use two balls that are exactly the same. Whether it's 2 tennis balls, I use these rubber balls. Chuck It make these. I like the Orby Tough balls as well. And again, I buy the bungee from the yacht chandlers, which allows me to play tug with the dog. The reason why I use 2 that are exactly the same is, and I always buy 2 together. If I need to replace one of them, I'll replace both of them. What I found from experience is that the dog, if the 2 of them aren't exactly the same, the dog can have a preference from one over the other, which means that the dog takes one of them, he prefers that one to the one that you've got, and he keeps a hold of that one. Whereas if they're both exactly the same, generally the dog will want the one that you've got because it's more fun. You can play tug with it, or it moves, you can throw it. Whereas the one that he's got, he only gets to chew. For some dogs, that's what they want to do with the ball, but for that's not all dogs, only some dogs. So I always buy 2, and I play both the one that I've got against the one that the dog's got. Next thing is tug toys. This is the Kong Tugger, which is pretty good. It's got 2 handles and the rope in between, and then there's another one which is just a kind of a shoots and bite bar, which I've had for a long time now. Just play tug with the dog. And the last thing which I'll talk about is the Kongs. Now these are for passive training. I use these for passive training. We could attach a rope on this, or we can throw it as an active toy to play with the dog, to interact with them. But for passive training, these are what I use, but I'll talk about that in a later video. That's the training equipment I use. I've found it to be more than adequate for everything that I use. Don't use prong collars, I don't use choke chains, I don't use no pull harnesses, I don't use head collars, and I don't use electric shock collars. I found this equipment along with proper training techniques to be more than adequate for the training that I do. That's ranging from basic manners and obedience, recall, right through to dogs with aggression problems towards people or towards other dogs. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you want to, you can leave comments in the field below. You can find me on Facebook. It's Glasgow Dog Trainer and Behaviour Consultant, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again.